It's not only about the bragging rights, it's about representation, prowess, flexibility, and adequate information for a solution-focused initiative. We crowned a champion in the third edition of the Speak and Solve initiative, SASI. It was a tough challenge, but an ultimate winner emerged. Taking the trophy, which has been in the custody of the Harare Institute of Technology, the Midland State University held the cup for the first time, marking themselves as the team to beat in the fourth edition of the SASI debate. They fought a good fight. Will they follow in the footsteps of their predecessors and be the winners this year? Do they have what it takes to take it home yet again?
Hello, viewers, listeners, and participants of the 2021 National Universities Debate Competition. The Swedish Embassy here in Zimbabwe is committed to increase access to and respect for sexual and reproductive health and rights, especially for young people. Sweden has a long history of prioritizing these rights as part of its health, gender, human rights, and sustainable development work. And we place great importance on working with partners in countries across the world. To increase reach to young people in Zimbabwe, we have partnered up with Say What for an Action for Choice project, a project that is working hard to expand the knowledge and the attitudes of students in Zimbabwe so that they can successfully learn, function, and participate in the broader global community. We believe that when students' sexual and reproductive health choices are broadened, there is increased potential for them to excel in other development facets such as education, professional careers, employability. I would like to commend Say What for doing this important work. It is against this background that I welcome you all to the 2021 National Universities Debate Competition, which has been branded the Speak and Solve initiative. This year's competition, which is in its fourth edition, is taking place in the new studio, which was established with funding from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. The state-of-the-art studio is coming at a time when the world is adjusting to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic by pursuing digital means of reaching out to young people. It is my hope that Say What will utilize this studio to harness untapped young people's talents across the country in generating and dissemination quality on sexual health and rights information. At this point, allow me to declare the Say What studio officially open. May this day mark the beginning of a new era in SRHR digital programming for young people in Zimbabwe. To all 2021 debaters, take advantage of this year's competition to employ your critical thinking and public speaking skills in creating and communicating solutions to young people's SRHR and emerging humanitarian problems. This is your chance to shine and make your contributions to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. To all viewers, listeners, and participants, I must say that beyond enjoying the competition, please take a moment to reflect on what you will learn and have learned throughout this process and how you can use that to make yourself and those around you better. Thank you all for joining this broadcast and lending your voices and visions to the debate. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chinhoyi Sengrai. I'm the Dean of Students at Chinhoyi University of Technology. My expectations are that the debate will be fruitful like any other past debates, that it's full of quiz and questions that debate the sexual reproductive health of students, and along the way impacting or informing the students about their rights in terms of sexual reproductive health and the way how they should access the services, Literally, I expect that the participants or the whole debate will reflect on empowerment of students on sexual and reproductive health. We are grateful. Those who participate, they come up with a knowledge database of sexual and reproductive health issues that affect students, and also the solutions or the way how the students should be able to assist themselves or negotiate for service provisions. So the debates are very, very informative. They give information and they empower, and they make students assertive. Yes, indeed, a serious impact for that matter, because now the student body or population understands that sexual and reproductive health is an issue that really needs to be addressed, so that students get access to services pertaining sexual and reproductive health. They also assist students to know where to rush to when they are in a problem, and also empowering those students. Koi and shine, guys. First and foremost, we want a trophy. If we don't get a trophy, that's excellent still, because the bottom line is to participate. Our message is go ye and participate. Once upon a time, somebody was last in the race, but he continued until he reached the touchline after all other members have reached. The answer was, I've been sent by my institution to participate. Oh yes, my dear students, as Dean of Students, we love you, we value your life. Where possible, please get vaccinated. If you are tested and found to be positive, please follow the quarantine rules and observe the COVID-19 regulations, sanitize, mask up, social distance. University, yes, we are the cut above the rest. We are proud of ourselves. We really value particularly the involvement of stakeholders in assisting us to raise a holistic student.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Blessings Mubi. I'm from Gwanda State University.
Hi everyone, my name is Tadiwa Daka. I'm from Gwanda State University.
I feel pretty confident about my team because I know we not only are we debaters, but we're also involved in these issues. So we know that these things that affect us, they will help us contribute or understand what the debate could be really about.
I really feel confident about this team because I think that definitely this time we are in it to win it. Because definitely we are not there to lose and we are not there to waste our time. We are there to make a mark and we are there to leave a signature and standing out there. Yeah. This time around from Gwanda State University, I think you should expect us definitely to win. Not only winning, I think we are also going to be showing you that it's not being an engineer doesn't define you as someone who is not socially adept and someone who doesn't know how socialization is like out there in the world. So definitely we are going to be impacting lives and we are going to raise awareness of certain issues that are going to be discussed in that debate, and definitely we can show you that debaters and engineers can actually also contribute to society and how the society is supposed to be built up.
Debates are not only theoretical, but we want to show people that we can put those things into practice, the things that we debate about. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't help if we're only debating and talking about these issues, but no one is listening to us. We need to show them that yes, this is it. Well, I think first of all, it's because it's a new baby university. It makes it unique, and maybe the programs that we're also doing here. They're like the breadwinner of Zimbabwe currently.
How each and every individual that is in that university does not only do metallurgical engineering or mining engineering, but they actually do the engineering of social life, the engineering of politics, the engineering of each and everything that you can ever think of. So I think right now you should actually give us titles of universal engineers. Just like how we are going to engineer the trophy for Gwanda State University as a win.
Gwanda State University.
Esprit de Corps.
Unity as one.
I'm the Dean of Students at Gwanda State University. My name is Ncube. I have high hopes and high expectations of the oncoming debate tournament. Gwanda State University is a new university, and I've put up a very strong team that I am expecting that it will turn the tables upside down debate tournaments. They expose our students to quite a number of cultural issues that actually help them to grow and grow outside the classroom. When they come back, they become an asset to the university because they have a lot of programs and a lot of educational talks that they actually give to other students. And I've personally witnessed some kind of behavior change. So it is a very good learning platform. It's like in Ndebele, where we would have uncles and grandfathers, they're actually talking. And these young people come and actually complement the activities that are done by the officers in the division. I'm saying to the team, we have selected you with all the confidence, and just go for it. Don't be intimidated. You are all students, regardless of where you are coming from. We are all equal students. It only takes you how you present yourself, and you can make it. So as students from the engineering department or faculties, you can eloquently argue and actually bring forth the views that are socially related and link them up with activities that are around the corner.
Are you enjoying the SASI debate 2021 so far? I hope by now you have universities that you're backing. Who do you want to see take the trophy this year? We know last year Midland State University walked away with that coveted trophy. But are they going to retain it? Will somebody else take it home? Only time will tell. Now, let us know in the comments section if you're following. Let us know what you think of the quality of the debates so far. Let us know also if you're curious about anything at the condomized desk, what's happening with Miss Nikki. Let us know all your thoughts. Of course, the hashtags to use today, hashtag SASI for Hope, hashtag SASI Debate 2021. Now, we do have our next team of universities here ready to battle it out and eliminate each other. And of course, we have Chinhoyi University of Technology taking on Gwanda State University. And I will ask them to start off by introducing themselves. I'm biased with my left side, forgive me, it just happens. I will ask you to introduce yourself and what it is that you are studying. Sir, in your beanie, who are you? What are you studying?
My name is Tadiwa Daka. I'm from Gwanda State University. I'm studying metallurgical engineering third year.
Okay.
And my name is Blessings Nui, also studying mining engineering from Gwanda State University, year 3-2.
Okay. And gentlemen?
My name is Takuzwa Ronald Zingwanda, studying environmental science and technology at the Chinhoyi University of Technology.
Young lady.
Thank you. My name is Olin Makoni. I am studying at the Chinhoyi University of Technology. I am studying international marketing, year 3.
All right. So, are you guys ready for your motion? Okay, so the motion is this House prefers that sexual education in schools emphasize protection over abstinence. I'll read it again. This House prefers that sexual education in schools emphasize protection over abstinence. All right. On the affirmative team, we have the Chinhoyi University of Technology, and of course the opposers are the Gwanda State University, which means I need to take you through our very quick timelines. Please pay attention. This is how we're going to move forward. All right. So the affirmative will give their opening speech. That is 4 minutes. After they've given their opening speech, there will be 1 minute 30 seconds for the opposers to cross-examine the team. All right. 1 minute 30 seconds to oppose. Once you're done opposing and to cross-examine. Once you're done cross-examining the team, the opposers, it will be your turn to give us your opening speech. You have 4 minutes to do that, and the affirmative will cross-examine you for another 1 minute 30 seconds. When we're done with that, the opposers will give us their rebuttal. That is another 4 minutes on the clock. Once they're done, affirmative, you will also give us your rebuttal. That is 4 minutes. Opposers, you will then give us your closing remarks, which is 3 minutes, and affirmative will also close. That is another 3 minutes on the clock. Our affirmative is Chinhoyi University of Technology, and of course, as mentioned earlier, the opposers, Gwanda State University. Are we ready to go? Now, the other thing I must remind you is the minute you are out of time, as soon as I say stop, whether you're mid-sentence, starting a sentence, 2 words to the end of a sentence, you stop immediately. Do we agree? All right. Now, cut. Are you ready?
Yes.
Your clock starts now.
They are doing it. And yes, they have been doing it. Not that we want them to doing it, but the fact is they are doing it, and we want them to do it safely. For it's a journey that they started long back at child play, the so-called matope, where they've been doing it. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are just here to say, let's help these young people safely explore and nurture the positive values regarding their sexual reproductive health. For comprehensive sexuality education is a rights-based and gender-focused approach to sexuality education. And in this debate, it's focused only in schools. Ladies and gentlemen, if you may allow me to call you off the jury. My client, who is a victim here, as reported by the Sunday Mail 25 June 2008, is a commercial sex worker who is doing sex work in Epworth to raise fees, ladies and gentlemen. Now tell me, is she in need of abortion information, or rather she needs to know the use of the pre-exposure and the post-exposure prophylaxis? Talk of casual sex, one of the topics that is being debated today. Talk of the condomize campaign that say what is actually implementing in this day. Talk of abstinence, ladies and gentlemen, on the abstinence, be faithful, and also condomize Act, which is on the comprehensive sexuality education, where we've been talking of abstinence for quite a long time, and now is the time that we accept that we are doing it. Consider the lockdown that our students have been conducting online classes. Are they really browsing, or they are now doing the browsing, ladies and gentlemen? And therefore, they need to know that they need to protect themselves, ladies and gentlemen. Talk of the 15th February 2019, the Education Amendment Bill. It now allows pregnant girls to go into school. What it simply means is the government has come to terms with the fact that our children are doing it, and we need to put more emphasis on protection, ladies and gentlemen. Talk of the STIs, the chlamydia. Joseph Njoa, in his report on the My Age Zimbabwe Trust, he mentioned that 5,000 teenage pregnancies have been reported in January and February in Zimbabwe this year. And to prevent such continuous rises in such cases, ladies and gentlemen, we need to put more emphasis on protection other than abstinence. Talk of the semester marriages that are happening in the universities. It's now becoming norm, and it's becoming talk that we already know, ladies and gentlemen. Talk of abortion on demand. One of the topics that is being debated today. Movements such as She Decides are now moving, and they have been formed, all because we need to put more emphasis on protection other than abstinence in our schools. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the story of Lorraine is really heartbreaking. A slow and such a painful death, all because she found herself that she was HIV positive. One of the students, I will not mention the institution, but if she had the information that she could get on treatment, that there is what we call post-exposure prophylaxis, if the guy had knew the correct use and how to use a condom correctly, we would have realized and a life would have been saved. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I say protection on demand. Thank you.
Are you ceding your time to me? 36 seconds? You can't go on. I'm sure you have more. Are you done?
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, in this debate, we are going to say abstinence refers to preservation when it comes to sexual activities. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. 22 seconds. All right. Suppose it's better than 36 seconds. Thank you so much. Opposers, are you ready for cross-examination?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we get to that, are they browsing or what?
Or braising.
Are they, turn your mic on. Are they browsing or what?
Browsing or braising.
Okay. It's not my job to cross-examine. Cross-examination, are you ready? Your clock starts now.
Okay, instead of telling us about how they are doing it and from the Matopi, can you actually give us a comparative analysis on how protection itself is more beneficial than totally abstaining from sex?
Yes, you see, the consecutiveness of decreed events is to be accepted in veritable state, even if the republic is on its undesirable state.
Okay, thank you, sir. Also, can you give us a statistic from anywhere where protection is also proven 100% safe measure against STIs and unwanted pregnancies?
Go and check the UNDP page and report. You see that since they introduced the condomize campaign, especially in Namibia, you see the statistics themselves, they'll show you the percentages.
And lastly, do you think kids have the rational thinking capacity in schools, especially primary schools, to handle sex education and protection with the penis models and condoms on them?
A 12-year-old, as I was mentioning, if you were listening, is actually in the business of commercial sex work, as I mentioned during my presentation.
Thank you.
17 seconds to go. No more questions?
No more questions.
None
ma'am.
whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
All right, which means that it is now your turn to give us your opening speech. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Your clock starts now.
So, the problem that we have with this motion is whereby the affirmative side fails to characterize what we are talking about right here. We are talking about us giving sexual education in schools with an emphasis on protection over abstinence. So when you're talking about school system generally, what are we talking about? 1, we are talking about elementary kids. 2, we are talking about primary school kids. 3, we are talking about secondary kids. We are talking about high schoolers, and we are talking about university kids. So we don't believe that we prefer a world whereby we teach these kids protection over abstinence. Do you know why? 1, you discover that 80% of all these people that are within the school system, most of them are irrational and some of them are immature. They cannot handle that much information. We know that in society we are going to have 3 people. 1, we are generally going to have people that know about sex, what happens in sex, people that are even going to know different sex types, talk about university kids whatsoever. Then we are going to have that group which is actually passive, which gets passive information. Those children that learn from biology that sexual reproduction exists, STIs exist. Then we have kids that actually don't know anything in society. So we believe that by us introducing a system whereby sexual education is based on protection or not on abstinence, we actually create a leeway whereby we are saying you are in elementary school. Since we have now taught you about protection, you can actually have sex as long as you use a condom. That means we are actually exposing these kids to sex before they're actually mature, before they're rational, before they've even developed into knowing what Pythagoras theorem states while they're in primary school. But right now they already know about dog stuffs. The second problem that you are going to have with this case, right, it's whereby they're going to tell us that, fine, let's look at statistics that are coming from Namibia, UNDP, whereby we're saying that these kids, they're going to be, whereby we are going to say that there's actually a reduction because people have actually used protection. Mind you, this statistics is talking about people that are rational and people that have grown, people that know about sex, and these people that use protection. What about the kids that won't be rational enough to use protection when they engage in sexual intercourse? That means definitely these kids, they're still going to get STIs, they're still going to get pregnancies. Fine, we've been preaching about condomize, we've been preaching about how they should use contraceptive measures. But then why isn't the rate of people that are of teenage pregnancies decreasing? Because it's not working. Then why is it that people are still contracting STIs? The increase in 2017, whereby 13% of Zimbabweans, 1.3 million of the population actually have STIs. This shows us that this is not working. So the moment we actually introduce 80% of the system, which is actually the school system, whereby we allow them to have sex under protection, that means we're actually going to increase this. Now, let me go to our matter on what we are talking about in this debate. The problem that you are going to have when you are talking about sexual education, especially in children, right? We are going to have problems of STIs, and we are going to have problems of early childhood pregnancies. That is the problem that is supposed to be discussed here. So then, if you are doing a comparative analysis of which method would actually prefer in our sexual education system to work, it's whereby we are going to go for that. We are going to go for the method that will reduce teenage pregnancies. We are going to go for the method that will reduce STI transmissions. So we believe that the method that is going to work is abstinence. Why? Because 1, 80% of these people, they're not rational enough to use STIs. 2, we believe that these people, they're young. We cannot expose them to sexual education that is based on protection instead of abstinence. That's why when a girl asked me out in grade 5, I actually ran and told my mother that she told me that she loved me. But then the moment they educated me on us having protection, the moment she asked me out, I'll be like, okay, cool, fine, let's have sex. Let's go look for condoms. And then I'm not going to be able to use those condoms in the end. And then I'm going to contract an STI. Let's say I'm having intercourse with a person who is going to be infected, right? So we believe that in a world where we want to reduce teenage pregnancies, in a world where we want to reduce STIs, we prefer a world where we are going to teach abstinence instead of us emphasizing on protection. With this, 0.
With this or 0. Okay. Wait. A girl asked you out in grade what?
5.
You?
Yes.
And you said no?
I told my mom.
I love it. I think that's been my highlight all day. You told your mom. All right. No, that's fine. Affirmative. Do you have your questions ready?
Oh, yes.
All right. Your clock starts now.
Mr. Speaker, sir, please account for the fact that abstinence does not account for high-risk behaviors that precipitate sexual activity that would need to be refined using PrEP and PEP.
Amen to that. But then remember, I told you that you're going to have 3 people in the school system. We are going to have people that know nothing. We are going to have people that receive passive information and take it as it is. And we are going to have people that actually know. So within the school system, how many people are actually rational enough to know about contraceptives, to know how we are supposed to use them and the benefits? That is only going to be 20% of the people, which include tertiary students.
Thank you,
we are
sir.
going to have high schoolers, secondary schoolers, primary schoolers, and people who are in elementary school that will be introduced to this and they don't actually know how to use those preventive measures.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, sir. Next question. Sir, how do you account for the fact that the message of abstinence is exclusive to those people who are already indulging in sexual activities?
We have people that are already indulging in sexual activities. But the moment that you are now going to tell these people that, okay, fine, you have sex, use protection, that means even people that are not indulging in sexual activities, they will end up indulging. We are now endangering a large number of population. So we think that this doesn't work if we do a proper comparative analysis.
Thank you, sir.
And we're done?
Yes, we are
With
done.
8 seconds to spare. All right. Opposers, let's have your rebuttal. Your clock. Just out of curiosity. So what did your mom say?
My mom, she was like, the first thing that she actually did was like, what? You should run away from girls. You should read your environmental science textbook. Then another girl asked me out. And then my
You were
mom...
quite popular with the girls, weren't
And then
you?
my mom actually went there and she was like,
Don't ask my son out.
Mwana wenyu ada kudzidzisa mwana wangu zvinyadzi.
I love your mom. I'd like to meet her at some point. All right. Opposition, your rebuttal, your clock starts now.
The distribution of condoms massively at all levels, even primary level, hasn't ensured 100% usage of condoms. Yet we continue to preach the use of protection, and numbers of pregnancies are rising in tertiary institutions, also including unwanted pregnancies. Every day, new HIV infections and STIs are being recorded. And also, like my partner said, in 2017, about 13% of Zimbabwe's population, that's 1.3 million people, were living with HIV. And up to date, those numbers are increasing. Prevention is better than cure. Why? using condoms during sexual intercourse is not protection. Why am I saying this? Condoms are not 100% safe or effective in preventing pregnancies, STI infections, or even mental health-related issues which come after these sexual intercourse activities have happened. Abstinence itself is obviously 100% safe, effective, and is not questionable. Abstinence will not lead to any STIs, pregnancies, illegal abortions, and everything else that's associated with problems brought about when our peers are not abstaining. Adolescents who initiate sexual behavior earlier are more likely to suffer from depression and engage in other risk-taking behaviors such as substance abuse. So now, understanding why emphasis on abstinence is much more effective is important. Think about a practical scenario where there are two partners in a room. They just look around, maybe they want to have sexual intercourse, and they notice they don't have a condom. Are they going to engage in that sexual activity? Yes. Why am I saying so? Because the woman knows she's going to take the morning after pill, or she's going to use another contraceptive method to prevent herself from getting pregnant, or also if she feels like maybe she has been infected with HIV, she'll go ahead and have PrEP. She'll have access to PrEP. Then, by emphasizing protection over abstinence, we're actually being ignorant, and we're creating a false bottom tube or safe haven where we're making people think STIs and pregnancies are being reduced. Yet on the ground, practically, it's not happening. So when we do that, we want to create an environment where we're making people think that, okay, fine, we're manufacturing condoms, we're having condoms, we're distributing them everywhere, everyone is having access to condoms, so they're going to be protected from STIs and HIV, and they're not going to have unwanted pregnancies. Yet, in fact, they will still choose not to use them. So why are we going to continue with this initiative of emphasizing protection over abstinence when it hasn't worked? So now we're saying let's opt for a better solution, which is working, which is abstinence. Abstinence is 100% safe. When we're saying emphasis, we are saying we're having this kind of knowledge on people in a way that they actually understand it and use it, and actually we help them see what is better, which is abstinence over protection. And they will always think about abstinence and not protection, because they'll be discouraged. They'll be discouraged from having sexual intercourse in the first place. I rest my case.
With 47 seconds. Can you swallow now? You okay? You all right? You got this? Yes. Brilliant. All right. Affirmative, your rebuttal, your clock starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear that as of this very moment, the opposing house has no care at all for societal value. Why would I say so, ladies and gentlemen? The one who is suffering with HIV or living with STIs still has a right to sexual reproductive health that is complete, that is up to satisfaction, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why as a house we are saying that we are promoting a model that is holistic. That means that when we preach or when we spread awareness about protection over abstinence, about protection, emphasizing it over abstinence, we are saying that for those who are already indulging in sex, ladies and gentlemen, they know how best to curb their sexual reproductive health, that is those and that of their partners, their sexually active partners. At the same time, for those who are not yet indulging in sex, ladies and gentlemen, one day they will indulge in sex, they will need this information. So why not educate them now, ladies and gentlemen? Moving on, the opposing house based their argument on assumptions, but we are here to discuss facts. The spirit behind the motion clearly states that protection is on demand, as they actually defended our side, ladies and gentlemen, when they actually acknowledged that there are high rates of STIs. Now, allow me to bring you back in memory lane. Before the introduction of comprehensive sexuality education, people were pushing for abstinence. And some of the cases that they were talking about that were recorded during that era, ladies and gentlemen, whereby we were yet to exercise comprehensive sexuality education. But now, with the emergence of comprehensive sexuality education, we are saying that it is no longer about abstinence only. It is also about protection, because we want to include that part of the population that is already indulging in sexual intercourse, that is already infected with STIs and HIV, but still want to protect the health of their sexually active partners. Now, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, you should understand that as a house, we are not shunning abstinence. The motion itself says emphasizing protection of abstinence. Well, the reason why we are emphasizing protection is because protection has been underspoken for a long time, and that was only because we were yet to have enough or adequate resources at hand. But now that organizations such as ZNFPC, even say what, have been able to bring up resources at arm's length, now is the time to conscientize the society, to conscientize these students on how best to use these protective measures to good use, and also to the betterment of a future that is sexually healthy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the opposition also came and mentioned that it is probably not morally stable to teach students in elementary school about sexual reproductive health. But ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that the Vice President, Mr. Chiwenga, actually said that those students can actually access this knowledge within the consent of their parents, ladies and gentlemen. And now moving on, we are also saying that unsafe abortion cases are rising at an exponential rate. And should we conscientize people more on protective measures such as PrEP and PEP, these cases will reduce. Should we conscientize more on protective measures such as Jadel and Diploveram, ladies and gentlemen, these cases will actually recede. We are also saying that since this motive has been introduced in other countries, such as Namibia, and cases actually reduced, why not introduce it in this country? Why not push for it? Why not give it more attention? Why not emphasize on protection on demand? Thank you.
Right on time, like clock. Did you have a mental alarm clock to go off? Well done, right on time. Now, just a reminder of the motion that our teams are arguing. This House prefers that sexual education in schools emphasize protection over abstinence, and of course giving us the closing to our debate in this particular round. We have the opposers giving us their closing remarks. Your clock starts now.
Okay, so now we are going to do a comparative analysis on who is going to win this debate, and also who is going to create a safe world for children out there within the school system. So, as I alluded in my first speech, they failed to note that we are talking about a school system that comprises of elementary school kids, primary school kids, secondary schoolers, high schoolers, and university students. And you only realize that the only people with the rational thinking capacity are actually going to be university students that contribute only 20%. So, who is going to create a safe world? A person who is going to introduce children to sex education, telling them about protection, instead of a person who is going to talk about abstinence totally. We believe that a person who is going to talk about abstinence is the one who is going to create a safe space and a safe world, due to the fact that all the negative externalities that are involved when you talk about sex, talk about STIs, talk about unwanted pregnancies, talk about early child pregnancies. We believe that we are only going to cater for this if we are going to be preaching abstinence, whereby the only rubber that a child is carrying in his bag, it's actually going to be a school eraser, not a condom, whereby the child is actually going to be carrying a COVID-19 thermometer instead of carrying a pregnancy test when they are going to school. So we believe this is a safe world that we are going to create for the kids out there. The reason why this motion is based on the school system is because, fine, when they integrate back into society, when they are done with biology and mathematics homework, that's when we can talk about protection, because that's the level where we expect these people to be engaging in sex, not when they are still within the school system. When they're still within the school system, they should be talking about Pythagoras. They should be talking about Newton's third law, not to be talking about dog styles, about how you are not supposed to do anal sex this way because you get an STI, not talking about how you're supposed to use a condom and how you're supposed to use this contraceptive method. And we proved in this debate that the same condoms they are advocating for, the same contraception and protection they are talking about, is not 100%. It's not 100% in the sense that we still have condoms being distributed, we still have people having contraceptives, but then we still have child pregnancies, we still have STIs. We even told you about the statistics in Zimbabwe, whereby in 2017, 31% of the people were actually HIV positive. So then why introduce kids without a rational thinking capacity to sexual education that is based on protection, whereby we're saying, okay, fine, you can have sex, but then make sure you use a condom, instead of telling them that, you know what, having sex, it's a taboo. You know what, you are not supposed to have sex at this age. You are still in school. You are supposed to be concentrating on books. I believe that definitely my mother was right when she told me that run away. Thank you.
Right on time. I'm sure your mother's very proud of you now. And she's probably doesn't. Anyway. Right. Team Affirmative. Are you ready with your closing?
Yeah.
Let's go. Your clock starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we are supposed to be called winners of this debate is because, number one, they based their debate only on assumptions only. And they have agreed with us to give the statistics that there is a rise in STIs, but did not give an account to how exactly, if one can abstain, why is there a rise in these STIs, in HIV and AIDS cases, and new infections, ladies and gentlemen? Why is there a rise in teenage pregnancies? It is because they have failed to abstain, these our young people. And therefore, what they now need to know is how to protect themselves. By going to teach and give information on protection, ladies and gentlemen, is different from telling someone that you need to do this tile and this tile, like what they are saying in their debate. It is not what we are advocating for. We are simply giving information on protection concerned in comprehensive sexuality education. And this debate, ladies and gentlemen, is on comprehensive sexuality education. As they have mentioned, the issue of distribution of condoms, that it will encourage students to get involved in sexual activities. And we are saying now, if they see these condoms and they are involved in sexual activities, what they now need is the education on the protection, ladies and gentlemen, because it is something that they are doing, and therefore they need the education on how to do it and to do it safely, because they are doing it. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the issue of abstinence, they fail to show us and to explain on the fact that it excludes those who are already indulging into sexual activities, as is the issue of protection. One who is not yet involved in sexual activities can still choose to use the knowledge on protection or not, or when they are ready, they can now use the information and the knowledge that they have on protection. But when talking of abstinence, how about those who are already indulging in the sexual activities, ladies and gentlemen? They also explain to us that in schools, we have got those who are infant, those who are in high schools, and those who are in universities, ladies and gentlemen. We should not run away. Let's call a spade a spade. Our students, especially in the universities, are being involved in sexual activities. We mentioned semester marriages that we've all heard of. Just months ago, a picture of a Chinhoyi lady who lands at Chimagamba flooded the internet, ladies and gentlemen. They are already indulging into these sexual activities, and we are only saying they should do it safely. Hence the need to emphasize on protection over the abstinence, because the abstinence gospel has been preached and preached and preached for long. They should complement with the status quo, which we mentioned, with the statistics and the numbers, which they fail to show. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we win this debate.
Of the jury. Okay, we'll take it. Now, I'll take those 2 seconds to ask, are you abstaining? If so, was it the messaging that influenced your decision? Was it a personal choice? Did your parents threaten to kill you if they found out? What was it that affected your decision? If you're not, has the protection messaging reached you? Is it making sense? Where are the gaps? Now, the aim of today is not just to see who can argue the most and who can argue the loudest. Of course, it is to identify whether our students are getting the information that they need on topics that affect their livelihood, and also to expose the gaps that need to be filled. What gaps are you seeing based on the conversations that are happening today, or what information are you gaining from these debates today? Please let us know in the comments section. Of course, the hashtags are hashtag SASI for Hope and hashtag SASI Debate 2021. Now, when we come back, we will be taking on our last pairing for round 1, and that will be between Lupane State University and the University of Zimbabwe. Make sure you are following us. Let us know what's going on. What's on your mind right now in relation to this debate competition in particular? However, in the meantime, as our judges, our adjudicators go through the process of contemplating and considering whether all the information has been presented to them in a way that they are happy with, we will hand over to Nikki on the condomized desk.
Thank you so much for joining us, and these are the conversations that we're having with young people. We'll talk about sexual and reproductive health, and you know it's very important when we also hear from the young people. I'm joined by Oline from Chinhoyi University of Technology. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So you had a very interesting debate. Let's talk about the subject matter you were debating on.
Well, we were debating on the notion that stated that this house will emphasize protection of abstinence in schools. So that would include the elementary schools, high schools, tertiary institutions. It was quite challenging.
Challenging.
Yes.
Now, tell me about your university's position. Were you for or against?
We were pro the topic. We were saying that let us conscientize the society and the students at large in terms of protection, because protection is on demand. When we look at the fact that there are various legislative patterns that are taking place, for example, the government recently legalized commercial sex, and with the state of the economy right now, with all the lockdown, students are turning to commercial sex. And also when we look at the fact that casual sex, that is the hookups, the one-night stands, the sex which is premarital and everything, students are doing these things. And casual sex is no longer in the shadows, by the way. It has become a culture because the government made it legal. So now that it has become a culture, students are willing to experiment now that it's legal. So we need to tell them how to do it safely, how to have satisfaction, but at the same time maintain your sexual reproductive health.
Very important, and a very assertive young lady talking about her position. You know, I want to know, first of all, do you think you won?
Well, I believe we won. I believe we won. We had an advantage in terms of the fact that of late abstinence is what has been talked about, and it failed. So the in thing is supplementary methods. Which is this protective and contraceptive measures. And at the same time, well, abstinence does not account for high-risk behaviors that precipitate sex, like drug abuse, alcoholism. These facts actually incite sexual activity that ends up not being protective. Or so now, in such cases, we need to introduce post-exposure prophylaxis. So you see now, even though people try to abstain, they then indulge in drugs. Now they need protection.
You know, the way that you speak, you talk about PEP, you talk about drug abuse, maybe as a catalyst to. There's so much that you are knowledgeable. I can tell that you are knowledgeable, and clearly your position is obvious. Are these conversations being embraced by young people in tertiary institutions?
These conversations are actually being embraced at a large level, especially considering that it's now part of the curriculum and people are actually interested, and it promoted safe spaces. Now we talk about it everywhere and anywhere. You know, especially when we look at the fact that they decided to, or at least say white in particular, actually began to talk about these issues using local historical terms like Mugota Iziba. Now it's even more interesting. So yes, people are talking about these things.
I've got to ask.
We know them.
I've got to ask. Are you a peer educator?
I am.
Makes so much sense. But you know what? We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We are happy that there are safe spaces that have been created, and we continue to encourage these conversations in the private and public sphere. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And she is a very, very, very intelligent young lady, and also very, very, very eloquent, talking about the importance of the condomized discourse in different institutions and organizations. And of course, it's all coming through from the condomized table. Thank you so much for joining us. It's also exciting that the SASI debates have engaged students from all over the country. And we've got a representative from Matabeleland, South Gwanda State University. Blessings, how are you?
Fine, thanks, and how are you, ma'am?
Great, great. So let's talk about your debate. And which position were you taking? What were you debating on?
I was on the non-affirmative side, so I was against the motion of how we should emphasize education on protection of abstinence when it comes to sexual-related issues.
Tell me, what is your reason as far as your position is concerned?
As far as my position is concerned, I think it's a bit blurry because us as cultural people, Zimbabweans, Africans, okay, for me as an individual, I'm a cultural woman. Mm-hmm. I also want to keep and reserve my cultural practices. So maybe my grandmother telling me, oh, you should abstain from sex. And at the same time, as times are changing, times are moving, we have STIs, unwanted pregnancies. So I'm also supposed to think about protection. So it's a bit blurry, but yeah, I don't know.
You know, this is the condomized table. It's a conversation that would like to have a very candid one with young people. Do you feel that the abstinence discussion has failed?
I think the abstinence discussion has failed because of the way it has been handled. So maybe there could be better ways in which to encourage people to abstain.
What do you think?
I think first of all, maybe abstinence should be talked about in a very, very broad manner. And there should be at least more reasoning. It shouldn't just be about how people can get STIs, infections, or pregnancies. It should go beyond that so that people can understand where we're coming from. Yes, it's okay to adapt to Western cultures, but at the same time, we're also trying to, negotiate our way as human beings in this society.
Interesting thoughts from young people, interesting conversations, and interesting views. Blessings from Gwanda State University. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we continue to talk about the SASI debates. Very, very exciting, and thank you for joining us. Dean Chinhoyi with the Chinhoyi University of Technology. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you know that you have different point of views and would want to find out about the preparation behind the scenes. How do you prepare your students for such debates?
We prepare them thoroughly, basically not particularly for the debates, but the topic itself, sexual reproductive issues, are live issues which we are seized with as a university. So we do have peer educators who always talk about sexual reproductive health. So it's a matter of just picking amongst the pool, because they now already have the content in terms of sexual reproductive health. So from our pool, we then pick those who come and participate.
Now, how have students participated? What has been their attitude towards sexual reproductive discussions in the institution?
Now it is now a well understood concept. Initially, the issues of condom, the issues of morning after, drawn from our cultural background, it used to be a problem. Now it is an issue which they are now taking probably as a right to say if they maybe go to a clinic, they demand their space because they've been empowered with knowledge, and thanks to organizations like Say What, they now have informed the students their rights to claim their space in terms of sexual reproductive health.
And it is very, very important. Thank you so much for joining us, Dean.
I thank you.